Welcome to my Notes Oracle DBA YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss about Jenkins. What is the Jenkins and how to install the Jenkins by using AWS account, and how we are going to create a sample freestyle project, and if the job got failure, how to get the notification through the Gmail, and how we are going to configure the SMTP. All the things we are going to see in step by step. First thing, what is the Jenkins? Jenkins is a open source software. It is widely used for continuous integration and continuous delivery for the software project. It helps automate the various tasks involved in the software development process, such as building, testing, and deploying the applications. Also, Jenkins provides a web-based interface that allows user to create and configure the automation pipelines known as Jenkins jobs or Jenkins builds. These pipelines consist of a series steps of or stages that define the actions to be performed on a source code, such as compiling, running tests, and deploying in the productions. So we understood the Jenkins. Then in which of the scenarios we are using as a Jenkins? Like, you can just think about it. So you have one particular script. That script you are using like a cron job or anything. So in case if you want to use like a different environments, that particular script has to execute. So you can create the environment, and in the pipeline you can mention like this particular environment, which is like a QA, dev, perf, and production. This script has to execute and publish the results in case of the failures. That we can achieve through the Jenkins. As well as in case if you have a quick site reports or like any ETL reports that you want to extract the data from the actual table to reporting table, by using a Python scripts we can extract that data and we can insert that rows into the reporting schema. So that job we can do that through the Jenkins as well. And how does it works? So it's like, as I mentioned, it's a web-based interface. So first we have to configure that installation. Jenkins is installed on a server dedicated machine. Once we install, through that port number 8080, we can just log into the interface. Then we have to configure that username and passwords. After that, you can create a jobs. So whatever the jobs you have mentioned based on that triggers, which means like the pipe that some jobs required on every Monday 9 a.m. or like every alternate days, or like the particular month of the day, or like every 3 months once. That kind of things we can achieve through that builds. And the triggers also based on that like various events, that most of the trigger is based on the changes of the version. So for example, you have the Bitbucket. In that Bitbucket you had done some changes. Those changes has been triggered and published, manually triggered or integration of the external tools. So thus then it will take care of the build steps. The build step is composed of multiple steps, each representing of the specific actions. So steps can include source code checkout, compilation, unit testing, and static code analyzing, packaging development, and deployment. So those things has been taken care in that build steps. And as I mentioned earlier, in case that job got failure, that notification has been based on our SMTP configuration. Through that email we will get that notifications. And what are the prerequisites for this installation? So nothing, just we need a AWS account. And second thing, in that AWS account we are going to use the EC2 machines. In that EC2 machine we have to install that Java software, because the Java is required for that Jenkins jobs execution and for the installations. And third thing is we required one GitHub repository, because most of our code changes and everything is required. So we need one GitHub account. And fourth thing is that GitHub repo has to be on our local. And fourth thing, we have to create one separate Gmail for the Jenkins job integration for the notification, because it's quite secure, and as well as we should not get affected with our personal accounts. So these are the things are we required as a prerequisite. Let's see the step by step process. So now I'm going at my AWS account, so which I have already connected. Show you how to do that. So you can just go to that launch instances. So here actually we have to give the name, which means whatever the name. So here actually we are going to give that master or Jenkins master, whatever that you are understanding, you can just give that name. And our favorite software for that OS is quick, this one, Ubuntu. So I have just selected that Ubuntu. So if you want to select the version as well, so here we are fine with the latest version. And also the next step, we have to choose the instance type. So here actually we are going to use our for that our training purpose and education purpose. So then we can use that T2 micro is fine, or if you want to go with that on that real time based upon your jobs and specification, you can increase the sizes and you can use that. Next thing is, the major thing is, like we have to use the key pair. The key pair you can give that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just have that key pair. So you can just select that. That is it, like Jenkins master key. Or else if you want, you can just create a new one as well. So once you created, you can just download with that PEM or PPK. So because it requires like if it is a Windows, it requires like a PPK, or if you are going to use that OpenSSH, you can use that PEM file. So now we have this file. Next thing is, we have to go with that network settings. Here actually we required like that security group creation, because the security groups which allows the connections inbound and outbound based on the port numbers. So if you want, you can just create a new security group, or else like if you have the existing one, you can select. First time you can just create the new security group, and you can mention that all traffic and 00 anywhere, all the network connections can be allowed here. Then you can just give that, if you verify the configuration, just press that launch instances. So once you launch the instances, so it will start creating the instances. I'm just initiating this create. So now we got that instances. I just opened these instances. So it says like connect, and it was creating actually. So the next step, if you want, you can just connect through that console itself. So the console which says like we can directly access this particular EC2 resource through here. I'm just going to connect this resource. So once our EC2 is up and running, which means it would say like initializing and 2x2 checks is finished, then it will start integrate here. So it's creating actually. So once initial has been done, we can execute that. So we know that as a part of Jenkins installation, we first required that Java software as a prerequisite. So what I'm going to do, I already written as a blog. So if you want more clarification, you can just look into that step by step. So what I'm going to do, I'm just executing this set of commands. So the first thing is like we have to use that update. So once the update is completed, then we have to install that Java default JRE. So if the command along with, if you provided otherwise, it won't ask that confirmation like yes or no. So by default it will install that all the packages, so it would take some time. Install the JDK as well. Java version, and as well as we required that open JDK, so we already executed the command, so our Java installation was successful. The next step is we have to install the Jenkins software. So before the Jenkins software, actually we have to execute this command as per the documentation. So this one is successful. So the next thing is, so we have to execute that sudo update, and all that thing is done. The next thing is we are going to install the Jenkins. So the Jenkins -oi, so it will installing that Jenkins software. So once the installation is done, we have to just verify that what is the status of the Jenkins, whether it is up and running or not. So we can just wait for some time. It will take some time. So meanwhile, what we can do, we can just go back to the instance, and we have to add the port numbers of this particular machine, because as we know, by default we have created, and this one is like 22 only. So you can just go and see that open SSH, all the traffic rules only we have allowed. So in case if we are not added the port 8080, that Jenkins console we won't get it. So we can just go back to that. Yeah, so here actually our installation is done. The next step is what we have going to verify. Here we are going to verify the Jenkins status. For the Jenkins, we are going to check the status by using, so our Jenkins is up and running now. Without adding the inbound rules, I am just going to take this public DNS along with the port number 8080. If I see, we will get this error, which means the site cannot be reached. Because of that particular instance, Jenkins security group, we did not add that particular port number. So what I'm going to do, I'm just adding that next line, edit the inbound, the port number is 8080, and so for yeah, anyhow, after this installation, I'm going to destroy. So for that reading purpose, you can just give that all of the IP range, but in that real time, it should be like based on the defined ranges, IP ranges we have to give. Otherwise, it would be a problem. So now I have added that inbound rules 8080. Now I'm going to try and execute the same one. Now, if you could see, we are getting that Jenkins portal, the Jenkins console, we got it. So now we have to configure. So we have to just copy this line, and we can execute on our instance with that sudo cat. So here the password has been displayed. You can just double click, copy, so back to the console, paste this password, Now once you given the password, here the thing is like you have to particularly select whatever the required plugins, or you can just install all the plugins by default. So here actually our requirement is like we are going to learn in the beginner stage. So for this beginner we can install all the plugins by default. So I have chosen this install default. If you could see, it will install all the things, like it will show one by one. So we have to wait for some time till the installation completes. So meanwhile what we can do, we have to just go back to our git repo. So here actually I'm using that git repo for like AWS code deploy node.js demo. So this one actually I have taken from that Sandeep Das going to do. We can just take this particular thing as well, and you can update this block for like you can just update that code repo with your account. You can just into the private. So how to make that public repo as a private? So there is a settings. So in that settings, if you scroll down, so here that change repository visibility, you can just click that. If by default it's in public, you can change into that private, because in the real time all our repos are private only. So that purpose only we just made the change like a private repo. So once you done, meanwhile we can verify that, go back to our instance whether it is successful or not. It's still going on. So this is a one mandatory thing. And making so what is the username you required? I'm just going to give that Oracle DBA, and password you can give like this. So once you're done these things, here it will ask that. So I'm just giving my email ID gmail.com. So if you done that, say first part, it will show that our URL, like this is the same URL, so we can see that. So once you finish, so you can start our Jenkins. So because we already provided that login detail, so it will directly move into that our Jenkins console, creating a dashboard. So in the dashboard we have to select a new item. So first, for that learning purpose, we are going to use the freestyle project. So I'm just giving that sample demo file. Then it will ask the details one by one. So you can just give that little bit brief about what kind of job and what we are going to do. So let's say like this is sample. This is sample Jenkins demo project. Okay. Now we are going to just for the source code management. So here it will share. If you don't know about that, you can just go and click that question mark. That question mark would give that brief about that what it is and what this option will do. So what I am going to do now, it will ask that. So this is the same repository I am going to use for my demo. So what I have done, just go here and you can take that HTTPS. So just copy this one. So once I have pasted here, configure. See, if it is a public, we are not getting any errors. So if it is a private repo, we would get like this is the error which says like this particular repo we don't have any access. So what we have to do, we have to just add the credentials of that particular thing, as I mentioned earlier. So this is the steps we have to follow. Like we have to go here and we have to take that tokens for classic, and we have to generate the token. That generate the token, we have to specify the name and we have to give the generate token. So this token actually what it will do, it will just create that. So uh, since I have already copied here, so what I'm going to do, just go back to my Jenkins console. So here password for this one, so I'm just going to provide the username of my notes Oracle DBA. So because this is the one like my GitHub username, so what I have to do, in that password I'm just copying that generator, this token generation I have done, right? So I'm just going to give that add. Now it will show that credential part, it will show the username of password. So once I have added, now you could see like this error has been gone. So you can just make it yourself. So whenever you are going to use the private repo, you have to create the generate token and you have to attach here. After that, that error will be gone. Okay, so in that advanced nothing is there. So and this is the one major one, I will tell you later. So you can just leave it as like a master branch, and this one like what kind of triggers we are going to use, like these are trigger, different types of trigger actually we are going to use for that poll SEM. So in that poll SEM, so we are going to provide like every 1 minute, then that every 1 minute the job has to trigger. So what I am going to do, I'm just verifying here. So once we had it says like, do you mean every minute? So it will provide that options, so you can just provide that. And then next step is like build step. So in that build actually we can add that plenty of scripts. So what I'm going to do, I'm just giving that shell scripts, so which could say like echo welcome to Jenkins learning, and you can type like a list of files, and so you can just verify once again whatever the things we have passed. So the description we provided, and second thing is like that GitHub repo. In that GitHub repo actually we haven't passed that username and password, then branch and poll SEM, and this one like whatever the fields we have passed here, and unstable environment filter. Okay, so here actually we have to pass that email notification. I have passed that this email. So when the job got failure, so through this email I need to get that notification. So I have just done that. Now we can go back to our local repos. So my already I have copied that local repo on my local. So what I have done through that git bash here, I'm just going to create one file called my Jenkins demo.txt. So in this file I am just adding some text. Hi, welcome to Jenkins learning. So you can just do this thing. If already you know about that git bash, how to add the file from that git bash to in your github. You can just do that, otherwise I can just give you the steps. So this file has been created. Now you can just verify the status. So typo error. So once you created, you can see this file is not committed. So what you have to do, you can just go and add like a dot, so it will be added. Now once it is added, so you can just see the file is been added, but you have to do that commit. So what we can do, we can just do the git commit hyphen message. In that you could say like Jenkins demo. So once it has been done, you have to do that push git push origin master. Okay, so actually my here master is in caps, so we have to pass that like the same way. Okay, so the branch name is like a git origin master. Now the file has been pushed into the particular repo, so we can go back to that repository and verify the file. So if you are scroll down, we can say that git Jenkins, what is the file name we have added? So my Jenkins demo. Yeah, here it is a file name. So that file has been pushed from local to in this git 1 minute ago. Now we can go back to our console. You can just see that. See, our build is already started. So it got failed. Because why it is failed, we can just go to the console and see that output. The issue of this particular job got failed due to that could not find. See, verify the branch configuration. So here the problem is the same thing. Here actually we faced that the branch does not exist when our branch name was master with caps M, but we tried to push this file with small one. So the case sensitive is we have to look into that. Now what we are going to do, so due to that branch was not available, this particular, it says like this particular thing is not available, so that's why the trigger got failed. Now I am going back to here. We know that, see, our existing branch was like a master, but here it is in small m. So due to the case sensitivity, we got this trigger got failed. Also we have mentioned that email notification. See, this email has to come. If the job got failed, we have to get the notification. So once you go back to your server, if you could see any triggers has been occurred today, so it says like this is the thing, we doesn't get anything. It was like a June 24th. So why? Because again we can just go here, the console output. So where is the build file? This is our build. Now you can verify the thing here. If you go through this error, it could say could not connect the host and could not find anything this particular, which means this particular email could not connect to the this one. So what we have to do, we can just go back to our plugins. So in that plugins, what we have to do, we have to install that email plugin is not available, so we have to go back here and email extension template. So this one we have to install it. So due to this plugin unavailability, we are not getting this one. So now we have done that email notification. We can just try to do the build manually, whether it is, we know that because the build will fail due to that the branching name, improper branching name. So if you try to see that, still it doesn't get any mail notification here, because even though we have created email and we send the notification, so we are not receiving the emails. Why? Because that SMTP has to configure on this particular Jenkins machine. So what we have to do to configure the SMTP, we have to go back to here and we have to go into the Jenkins. So in the Jenkins, actually we have to go here into the system. Yes, so if you can scroll down till the end, or else you can just type that email. So here it will says like email notification for extended, or like this one, another one is like a email. So as per our thing, we are going to use this email notification only. So smtp.gmail.com. So lot of type errors. Okay, so then we have to go with that advanced. So here actually we have to use like in which method. So I'm going to use that SMTP authentication. If you select here, it will says like use the SMTP when sending out email if your environment SMTP specify username and password. So without that we cannot do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just giving that email and I know the password as well. So here the tricky part is, even if we provided that email and password and the method of, I'm going to use that SSL. So if you click here, if you are going to use that SSL, the port number is like 465. So I have provided the 465. Then to verify that email, you can just copy this email and go back the end. So if you just provided that email here and you can just press the test configuration, so here it says like the username and password would be failed. So actually that main thing of the issue is, even if we provided that exact username and password, so as per that Google has been updated that security. So per their policy, we have to go here and we have to first enable, go here in the security. In that security actually we have to scroll down. So in that we have to enable this two-step verification. By default it will be off only, so it is a mandatory to enable this one. So this is me, or like it was not me, so it will show that details. So we have to enable this first thing, we have to enable this two-step verification, and second thing, we have to create that app password. So for that app passwords, what we have to, so this, so once you go back to your two-step verification, you can see that app password. So whatever the applications through like other apps you are going to access, this is the mandatory as per the latest security update. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going here. So here actually you could see, if here I already updated this one. What we have to do, so once we can do one thing, I can delete that existing one and I can regenerate. So this is the password. So we have to copy this password, then we can keep it somewhere like this. So this is the password has been created. Now I have to go back to my systems. So here I have to update the password instead of this one. See, we should not give direct password, we have to create that encrypted one. So for the application, so once I have provided, you can just give the test configuration. So now if you could see, once we enable this one, this one was says like that email has been successful, which means our username and password was successful. Now you can go back to our demo job. In the demo job, if you want, you can just try that, or you can manually trigger. Now if you could see that console output, it will say the same error, because we know that we purposely made the branch name is wrong to get that. See, before I can make it as a duplicate this particular window, I will show you that previous job and this one. If you could see that the previous build, we doesn't get that output of the email notification. It would say like the connection was host could not be connected. Due to that, it was saying that some failure codes, and that finished status was failure. But the same thing you can go back to here. Due to that email configuration has been successful, it would directly send the notification on this particular email ID with the status of failure. Now I'm going back to my machine. See, it would say like this is the code. The cause of failure is like verify the branch name or repository name. So it will give the number of lines output. Now what we can do, we can just go back to our demo job and just configure this one. And once I came back here, I'm just updating that particular branch name. So here I have updated that exact one. See, if you want, you can just verify the branch name of this particular repo is capital master. So the same branch name we have to update here. Now if you are trying to do that build manually, so now you can just verify that build. We are just into the C. Now we have provided that exact branch name. So whatever that script we have provided, it would say like a responded echo welcome to Jenkins learning, and it would say like that we have provided the command ls-la. So this output result has been displayed, and you can see that sending the finished was success. If you want, you can just go back to your email, whether you got an email reference. See, this success notification also we got like address not configured, and we are getting that email. So this is how we have to do that. And if you have any questions, or you can comment on my this video.